There comes a moment in your life where the mirror becomes unbearable, where the weight of your own silence, your choices, your patterns, starts crushing you from the inside. Not because you're weak, but because you're finally waking up. You've looked around. Your room's a mess. Your relationships are either dead or dying. Your phone is filled with distractions you pretend are connections. You sleep too late. You wake up already behind. You try, but it never feels like enough. So you numb yourself, again and again. Let's call it what it is. You're not lazy. You're not broken. You're just disconnected from yourself, from the truth, from the version of you that was buried underneath all the masks you were forced to wear just to survive. And before you think this is another just be positive video, let me stop you right here. This isn't about pretending everything's okay. This is about standing in front of the wreckage without flinching and choosing to rebuild. Because if you want a Unfcking your life, you're going to have to stop outsourcing your healing. No one's coming to save you. Not the next relationship. Not the next dopamine hit. Not your job. Not even this video. But you, the version of you that's been whispering under all the noise, that version is still alive, still waiting, still willing. This isn't the end of your story. It's the part where you stop running from the fire and finally walk through it. In the next few chapters, I'm going to take you step by step into the process of reclaiming your life. Not with quick fixes or morning routines, but with hard truths, psychological clarity, and grounded discipline. We'll talk about trauma and the quiet ways it shapes your decisions. We'll talk about identity and why so many people feel like imposters in their own skin. We'll talk about letting go of the lies, the stories, and the illusions you've inherited. But above all, we'll talk about becoming, because you weren't born to live numb. You were born to rise. So if you're ready, really ready, to Unfcking your life, take a deep breath. And let's begin. There's a reason your life feels stuck. It's not because you haven't read enough self-help books. It's not because you lack motivation, discipline, or time. It's because you're still lying to yourself. And I don't mean the big, obvious lies. I mean the quiet ones, the ones you whisper to yourself when no one's looking. The I'm fine when you're unraveling inside. The this isn't that bad when you're drowning. The I'll fix it later that becomes never. We all do it. Because facing the full truth of our lives, that's terrifying. It threatens everything. Your routines, your identity, even your relationships. But here's the truth. You cannot transform a life you refuse to see. That's where radical self-awareness comes in. The mirror is brutal, but it's where freedom begins. Think of your life like a house. On the surface, it might look okay. A bit cluttered maybe, but nothing a quick cleanup won't fix. But when you pull up the floorboards, you find mold, rot, structural cracks. That's your inner world. Years of unprocessed pain, hidden shame. Habits you picked up not because they were good, but because they helped you survive. Radical self-awareness is when you stop redecorating the walls and start rebuilding the foundation. It's when you look at your anger and say, where is this coming from? It's when you feel the urge to self-sabotage, and instead of giving in, you pause and ask, what part of me feels unsafe with success? It's about asking the hard questions. Why do I keep choosing people who hurt me? Why do I quit every time something gets hard? Why do I feel most alive when everything's falling apart? These aren't easy questions, but you can't fix what you won't face. Self-awareness, self-blame. Now let's make something very clear. This is not about blaming yourself for everything wrong in your life. You are not responsible for your childhood trauma. You are not responsible for how others treated you. But you are responsible for what you do with that pain now. Self-awareness isn't self-blame. It's self-liberation. It says, I see the patterns, I understand where they came from, and now I get to choose differently. That's where power lives. Not in pretending you're perfect, but in understanding your imperfections so deeply that it no longer controls you. Watch your patterns. Like a scientist, here's a tool you can use today. Start watching your life like a scientist. Not a judge, not a critic, a scientist. Every time you react, get curious. You get defensive in a conversation? Ask, what part of me feels attacked? You procrastinate on a goal? Ask, what fear is hiding underneath this delay? You chase validation on social media? Ask, what emptiness am I trying to fill? When you bring observation to your inner chaos, something amazing happens. The chaos starts organizing itself. Your pain becomes data. Your triggers become clues. Your habits become maps. This is how transformation begins. Most people don't want the truth, but you're not most people. The truth will cost you. It might cost you your comfort. It might cost you a few relationships built on the old you. It might cost you the illusion that you have it all together. But what you gain is clarity. Clarity about who you are, what you value, what you need to heal, and what no longer belongs in your life. Most people avoid this because truth is heavy. But you're watching this because a part of you is tired of pretending, tired of the noise, the distraction, the detours. And deep down, truth might hurt, but illusion is exhausting. The first step to Unf*, seeking your life, radical ownership. Here's the first real step to changing your life: own it. All of it. Not in a shameful way, but in a powerful way. Say it out loud. Yes, I've been escaping. Yes, I've been avoiding my healing. Yes, I've let fear steer the wheel. That kind of honesty, that's a turning point. It creates an opening, a crack in the illusion, where real change can begin to seep in. The ancient Stoics called this prohairesis, the power of choice. They believed your perception was the only thing you could truly control. And that's the gift of radical self-awareness. It doesn't give you all the answers, but it gives you the eyes to see, and that alone can change everything. In the next part, we're going to dive into the stories you tell yourself, the subtle, invisible lies that keep you stuck in loops, because awareness is only the first step. Next, you have to destroy the illusions you built your life around. Let's keep going. Radical self-awareness is powerful, but it's not enough to see the truth. You have to confront the stories you've been telling yourself, and then you have to kill them, because most people don't live in reality, they live in narratives. Scripts they picked up when they were too young to question them. Scripts like, "I'm too damaged to be loved." "Success isn't for people like me." "If I rest, I'm worthless." "If I show my real self, they'll leave." These stories didn't come from nowhere. They were formed in moments of pain, often in childhood, and repeated until they felt like truth. But here's the problem. What you believe becomes what you see. The lies feel familiar. That's why they're dangerous. Here's something no one tells you. The lies you believe about yourself usually feel safe. They're familiar. They've been with you for years. They help you predict the world. They keep you inside your comfort zone, even if that zone is full of suffering. It's easier to say, "I'm not good enough," than to risk trying and failing. It's easier to say all relationships are doomed than to risk vulnerability and heartbreak. It's easier to say, "I don't care," than to admit how deeply you do. But here's the truth. You will never build a new life with the same story that ruined the old one. At some point, you have to face those beliefs, like a surgeon faces an infection. Not gently, not politely, but with precision, with force, and with full commitment to remove what no longer belongs. Identify your core narrative. Here's a tool. Sit with yourself in silence and finish this sentence. Life is war. Don't overthink it. Just observe what your mind fills in. Is it life is hard? Life is unfair? Life is meaningless? Life is suffering? Or maybe life is something I have to survive? That one sentence is a window into your deepest programming. Then go further. Ask, who told me that? When did I first start believing this? What was happening in my life at the time? Most of your life story was written by other people. Parents, teachers, bullies, partners, culture. But you don't have to keep reading from that script. Story, core principle in trauma recovery and Stoic philosophy alike is this. You are not your thoughts. You are not your feelings. You are not even your story. You are the observer behind all of that. The witness, the presence, the chooser. The mind will play old recordings on repeat. That doesn't make them real. In fact, most of your suffering comes not from life itself, but from the story you attach to it. Two people can go through the exact same hardship. One collapses, the other grows. What's the difference? The story they tell themselves about what it means. This is your power. You can rewrite meaning. Killing the lies is a process, not a moment. Don't expect instant liberation. These internal narratives were built over years of repetition, emotional reinforcement, and often survival. Killing them isn't about one breakthrough moment. It's about consistent interruption. Every time the voice in your head says, "You always failed," you interrupt it and say, "No, I learned. I adapted. I grew." Every time you think, "I'll never change," you say, "I already am. This is what change looks like in real time." Every time shame creeps in and whispers, "You're unworthy," you say, "That's not mine to carry anymore. This is spiritual warfare," and you fight it with truth. Repeated, relentlessly, until the lies die from lack of attention. Borrow strength from history. Even the greatest thinkers, emperors, and sages faced these inner lies. Marcus Aurelius, Roman emperor, philosopher, leader of armies, wrote in his meditations not about victory, but about doubt, grief, loss, and fear of weakness. He said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That's not just a motivational quote. That's a battle cry. He was reminding himself daily to not believe the first thoughts his mind offered him. If a man who ruled half the known world still had to fight off the lies, what makes you think you shouldn't? This battle is universal, but you can win it, one belief at a time. Replace, rewire, reclaim. Once you recognize the lies, don't leave empty space. Replace them, rewire your mind, reclaim your voice. Examples: I'm too broken. I am healing, and healing is strength. Nothing I do matters. Small steps build massive change. People always leave. The right people stay when I show up as myself. This is just who I am, that I can evolve, I can become. Don't just think these. Speak them, write them, live them. The brain doesn't change through inspiration. It changes through repetition and action. Your life changes when your story changes. In the next part, we go even deeper into the pain beneath the lies, the unhealed wounds, the suppressed grief, the trauma that shaped your identity. Because once the illusions fall, you'll need to face the raw truth underneath them. And that's where real freedom begins. So you've started seeing the patterns. You've caught yourself mid-thought. You've challenged a few internal lies. You feel like maybe, just maybe, something's shifting. But then it hits. The flood, the grief, the memories, the emotional weight you've been outrunning finally catches up. This is where most people turn back. Not because they're weak, but because no one ever taught them how to face pain without becoming it. But if you truly want to seek your life, you have to understand one core truth. The pain you refuse to feel will run your life from the shadows. Until you face it, it owns you. Trauma isn't just what happened. It's what got stuck. Let's clear something up. Trauma isn't just about catastrophic events. It's not just war, abuse, or violence. Trauma is anything that overwhelmed your system when you were too young, too alone, or too unprepared to process it. It could be being constantly criticized by a parent, being emotionally neglected, having to be the strong one in the family, being taught that your emotions were dangerous. And here's what happens. When your body and nervous system get overwhelmed, they don't always recover. They store it. Your body holds the tension. Your mind creates protective stories. Your soul gets wrapped in armor. And the worst part, you often forget the origin. But the pattern remains. Avoidance becomes identity. Here's how it shows up. You call it, "I'm just independent," but you're actually afraid to depend on anyone. You call it, "I like my space," but really, closeness feels unsafe. You call it, "I don't need love," but it's just easier to numb than to risk rejection. You call it, "This is just who I am," but it's really who you had to become. These are trauma responses disguised as personality traits, and until you question them, you'll keep mistaking your defense mechanisms for your identity. You have to grieve what you never got. Here's the part most people avoid: grief. Not just grieving people, but grieving what you needed and never got. The nurturing you missed, the safety you were denied, the freedom to be messy, imperfect, human, the sense that your needs mattered. You may think you've moved on, but the body never forgets what the mind tries to bury. Unfelt grief turns into chronic anxiety, burnout, masked as productivity, overthinking as a form of control. A nervous system stuck in survival mode. Grief is not weakness. Grief is how we metabolize trauma. It's the sacred fire that burns through the armor. Let yourself feel. Cry, shake, write. Scream into a pillow if you have to. There is no shame in the way you heal. The only shame is pretending you don't need to. Healing isn't linear, it's layered. One day you'll feel clear, strong, grounded. The next day you're triggered by something small and spiraling again. That's not failure, that's healing. Imagine trauma like a tangled knot of string. Each layer you untie reveals another one underneath. You don't fix it all at once. You work through it patiently, courageously, layer by layer. Some parts of your healing will feel like peace. Others will feel like chaos before clarity. Both are necessary. You don't have to do this alone. This is important. Self-healing is powerful, but it has limits. Some wounds were created in relationship and need to be healed in relationship. That doesn't always mean therapy, though therapy can be life-changing. It can mean honest conversations, safe spaces, people who hold you without fixing you, people who listen, not out of pity but out of presence. We are wired to heal through connection. But that only happens when you stop hiding your wounds behind fake strength. Vulnerability isn't weakness. It's the doorway to real intimacy, with others and with yourself. The shadow will test. Carl Jung called it the shadow, the parts of yourself you reject, deny, or disown. The anger, the jealousy, the shame, the fear, the deep desire to control or destroy or disappear. These parts aren't evil. They're unintegrated, usually born from pain, twisted by neglect, and cast into the dark so you could keep functioning. But they don't stay hidden. They show up in your relationships, in your addictions, in your self-sabotage. To Unfcking your life, you have to go into the dark and bring your shadow into the light. Not to indulge it, but to understand it and transform it. Because you can't fully love yourself if you only love the parts that look acceptable. Real healing is when you stop running. You want the truth? Healing doesn't make you superhuman. It doesn't erase your triggers, make you perfectly calm, or turn you into a monk. Real healing is when you stop running. From your pain, from your past, from your patterns, from yourself. It's when you can sit in silence and not flinch. When you can feel without panicking. When you can pause instead of react. It's when you stop trying to be someone else and finally come home to who you are. In the next part, we're going to shift gears from internal clarity to external power. Because now that you've seen the truth, you'll need structure to keep you from slipping back into chaos. Next, discipline over motivation. Building a life that holds you when emotion fails. Now that you've seen what's underneath, the patterns, the lies, the trauma, you might feel raw, exposed, awake, but unsure what to do next. That's where most people stop. They wait to feel ready. They wait until the motivation comes back. They wait for clarity, confidence, or certainty. But here's the truth. Motivation is a liar. It will hype you up in the morning and abandon you by nightfall. It will tell you, today's the day, and then ghost you when life gets uncomfortable. If you want to rebuild your life, not just understand it, you need something deeper, stronger, more reliable. You need discipline. Discipline is the structure that holds you when emotion can't think of your healing like building a house. The insight, the awareness, the emotional release, that's your demolition. You're clearing out the rot, tearing down walls, seeing the space for what it really is. But you can't live in a demolition site. You need to rebuild. Frame the walls. Lay the foundation. Make it solid. That's discipline. It's the structure you put in place so your life doesn't collapse when your mood does. It's brushing your teeth when you don't care. It's journaling when your thoughts are messy. It's going for a walk instead of doom scrolling for 3 hours. It's choosing water over alcohol, silence over impulse, action over rumination. Why motivation fails and discipline doesn't? Motivation is emotional. It's dopamine, it's inspiration, it's energy when life feels exciting or hopeful. But trauma survivors, overthinkers, and people rebuilding from rock bottom, they know motivation dies quickly in the face of anxiety, self-doubt, grief, rejection, exhaustion. And if your life is built on waiting until I feel like it, you'll stay stuck for years. Discipline says, I show up anyway. Not perfectly, not for 12 hours a day, but consistently. Because consistency creates evidence, and evidence rewires belief. Systems beat willpower. Every time, don't rely on willpower. That's like bringing a plastic spoon to a war. You need systems. Start small, sustainable, repeatable. Set a morning routine. Not to be productive, but to create presence. Even 10 minutes. Create a non-negotiable ritual, something daily that reminds you I am rebuilding. Use habit stacking. Attach a new habit to an existing one. After I make coffee, I'll stretch for 2 minutes. These aren't hacks. They're anchors. When life throws chaos at you, and it will, your systems will hold you steady. Discipline is an act of self-respect. Most people confuse discipline with punishment. They think, if I'm strict enough, I'll finally be worthy. But real discipline isn't about control. It's about devotion. It says, I care about myself enough to create structure. I love myself enough to set boundaries. I believe in my future enough to protect it from my current mood. That's self-respect. That's healing in action. Every time you follow through on a commitment to yourself, no matter how small, you rebuild trust with the one person who matters most, you. Track progress by integrity, not perfection. You will slip. You'll miss a day. You'll break a streak. You'll have a meltdown and ghost your routines. That doesn't mean you failed. Healing is not linear. Discipline isn't perfection. It's about returning, coming back to center, picking yourself up with gentleness and strength. Track your growth like this. Did I honor my values today? Did I act in alignment, even if it was hard? Did I pause before reacting? This is internal discipline, the kind that turns chaos into clarity. Even Marcus Aurelius needed structure. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most powerful men in history, journaled every morning. Not to post, not for show, but to remind himself of what mattered. He wrote, "At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I am rising to do the work of a human being." He had status, armies, luxury, but none of that replaced the need for practice. His life was ruled by storms, political, personal, emotional. But he built inner order through daily reflection, virtue, and discipline. You can do the same. Discipline is freedom. It sounds backward, but structure frees you. It frees you from the chaos of impulse, from the torment of indecision, from the shame spiral of avoidance. You don't need to live on autopilot. You don't need to let your wounds dictate your schedule. You can create a rhythm even inside the mess that makes space for healing, growth, and peace. And when that rhythm becomes your new normal, you no longer need to be motivated. You just move with clarity, direction, and self-trust. You've done the work. You've looked in the mirror. You've faced the lies. You've walked into your trauma and chosen structure over chaos. But now comes the most terrifying part, letting go of the person you've been your whole life. Because healing isn't just about changing behaviors. It's about grieving identities. You have to mourn the version of you that always said yes to be liked, stayed silent to avoid conflict, chased love at the cost of self-respect, hid their brilliance to make others comfortable, built their entire personality around pain. Letting go doesn't feel like freedom at first. It feels like death. The ego isn't evil. It's just afraid. Let's be clear, your ego is not your enemy. It was built to protect you. It helped you navigate a world that didn't always feel safe. It gave you labels, personas, and stories to help you belong. But the ego isn't built for growth. It's built for safety. And that means it clings to the familiar, even if the familiar is killing you. The ego says, this is just who I am. People won't love me if I change. I'll be nothing if I let go of this identity. But the truth is, the ego is a mask, not your essence. And the moment you start taking it off, even just a little, you'll feel fear. That fear? That's a sign you're getting close to truth. Identity is a costume, not a cage. Most people think identity is fixed. They say, I'm just an anxious person, or I've always been bad with relationships, or I'm the black sheep of the family. But those are not identities. They're adaptations, formed in childhood, reinforced through trauma, maintained through repetition. You wore those roles to survive. But now, you're allowed to take them off. You're not broken. You're just wearing a costume that no longer fits. And the more you evolve, the tighter that costume feels, until one day it rips at the seams. That's when the real you begins to emerge, shedding the skin of the old you. Here's something nobody talks about. Letting go of your old self hurts, even when that version was unhealthy. Why? Because it was yours. It got you through the darkest nights. It knew how to survive. It was the best you could do at the time. So don't just discard that version with shame. Honor it. Say, thank you for protecting me. Thank you for keeping me alive. But I don't need you in the same way anymore. That's how you release the old self, not by rejection, but by compassion. You're not cutting it off. You're evolving beyond it. Becoming no one. So you can become anyone, Carl Jung once said. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. But before you become, you have to unbecome. You have to become no one. No labels, no scripts, no borrowed identities. Just stillness, silence, emptiness. And that emptiness, it's sacred. It's where transformation begins. But be warned, this space between who you were and who you're becoming is uncomfortable. It feels like floating, like disorientation, like loneliness. That's because you're in transition. No longer a caterpillar, not yet a butterfly. Don't rush it. Let yourself be rewritten. The world will try to pull you back. When you start changing, people will resist. They'll say, you've changed. This isn't like you. Who do you think you are? Not because they hate your growth, but because your transformation challenges their comfort. Your new boundaries will upset those who benefited from your lack of them. Your self-respect will threaten those who relied on your insecurity. Your clarity will disturb those still lost in confusion. Expect it, prepare for it, but do not let it stop you. You're not here to be understood. You're here to be authentic, and authenticity often comes with isolation, at least at first. The rebirth process, you want a UNF*CK your life? Then understand this. You don't find yourself, you create yourself. You get to choose your values, your beliefs, your habits, your energy, your inner circle, your path. You don't owe loyalty to the version of you that was built in survival mode. You get to evolve, rebuild, expand, but only if you're willing to lay the old self to rest, let go, or be dragged. There's an old Zen saying, let go or be dragged. The longer you cling to who you were, to your pain, your identity, your false comfort, the more life will drag you through suffering until you're forced to surrender. But surrender isn't defeat. It's wisdom. It says, I no longer need to fight to protect a version of me that no longer serves me. That's freedom. At some point in your journey, something clicks. You stop asking, what do I need to fix? What's wrong with me? What's next? And instead you sit in silence, in stillness, in the uncomfortable space where answers don't come easy, but clarity does. This is the shift from chasing to becoming. You've been taught to hustle for wholeness. You were conditioned to believe that peace lives out there, in success, in validation, in money, in love, in the next breakthrough, the next glow-up, the next version of you. So you chase. You chase healing like a task list. You chase purpose like a career. You chase love like oxygen. But here's the quiet truth. What you chase will always run, because chasing is rooted in lack, in fear, in the belief that you are not enough yet. But becoming is different. Becoming says, I don't have to chase what I can grow into. I don't need to perform to be worthy. I can breathe here, as I am. Stillness isn't stagnation. It's power. We live in a world addicted to movement. Do more, fix more, achieve more. But growth doesn't always happen in motion. Sometimes the most powerful transformation happens in stillness, in the quiet moments between goals, in the breath before the breakthrough, in the long pause after letting go. But before something new arrives, stillness gives your nervous system space to recalibrate. It lets your soul catch up with your ambition. It allows integration, not just insight. Don't mistake stillness for laziness. Stillness is where your roots grow deeper. Presence, the most underrated superpower. Think of someone truly magnetic. They're not the loudest, not the smartest, not even the most talented. They're present. They look you in the eye. They listen with their whole body. They move like time isn't controlling them. That's presence, and it's rare. Most people are stuck in yesterday's regret or tomorrow's anxiety. But when you drop into this moment, fully, you stop leaking energy into things you can't control. You stop overthinking. You stop overdoing. You arrive, and from that place, everything begins to align. Who are you when you're not performing? Strip away the goals, the coping mechanisms, the armor, the aesthetics. What's left? Who are you without the chase? This question scares people, because most of us have never had the permission to just be, to sit in silence without proving our worth, to wake up without striving for transformation, to love ourselves without earning it. But that space, that's where the real you begins to emerge. Not the curated version, not the performative one, but the rooted, grounded, unshakable you. Becoming is subtle, not spectacular. You'll know you've entered the becoming phase when things get quiet. You're not triggered by the same old drama. You don't crave constant validation. You feel peace in solitude. You lose interest in chasing people, approval, or quick dopamine. Nothing flashy, just steady alignment. And sometimes you'll look around and realize no one noticed your transformation, but you did. That's okay. You're not doing this for applause. You're doing it for freedom. The Stoics lived here, Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, Epictetus. They all understood this truth. Your inner world is your only real power. Everything external, your title, possessions, even your relationships, is fleeting. But how you show up in this moment, that's yours. Marcus wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this, you have the power to revoke at any moment." In other words, stop letting the outside dictate the inside. Come back to now, to what you can choose, your breath, your posture, your response, your presence. That's how you take your power back, one moment at a time. Stop fixing, start living. You've spent enough time in the loop of self-improvement. At some point you have to ask, what if nothing's wrong with me? What if I'm not behind? What if the next step isn't to fix, but to live? To enjoy a walk without tracking steps? To laugh without analyzing your trauma? To love without strategizing how to heal better? Stop trying to be perfect. Start trying to be here. This is the most radical act in a world obsessed with more. You become what you practice. Every single day, you are becoming someone, not through big decisions, but through micro choices. What you say yes to, what you say no to, what you prioritize, what you forgive, what you allow yourself to feel. You don't become free by chasing. You become free by practicing presence, truth, and alignment daily. Small shifts, deep roots, quiet power. This is how you Fcks your life, not just by breaking things down, but by building inward. In the final chapter, we bring it all together. You've faced the truth, killed the lies, walked through trauma, rebuilt discipline, let go, and become present. Now it's time to build a life that doesn't just function, but fuels you. You've come a long way. You've Fcks the tangled mess inside you, the lies, the trauma, the patterns. But transformation isn't complete until you build a life that fucks you back a life that gives energy as much as you give it. Joy isn't a luxury, it's medicine. Most people think joy is a reward for success. But joy is the fuel that makes success possible. Joy is in small moments, the warmth of sunlight on your skin, the laughter shared with a friend, the quiet satisfaction of a deep breath. Cultivate joy intentionally, not as an escape, not as denial, but as a radical act of healing. Because when you have joy in your life, you build resilience against despair. Relationships, choose who fuels your soul. You've learned to set boundaries. Now it's time to build connections that nurture your growth. Not everyone deserves access to your inner world, but the right people, they will meet you, imperfect, raw, real. Seek out relationships that celebrate your evolution. Hold space for your shadow. Encourage your discipline. Challenge you to be better, without breaking. You remember, connection heals. Purpose. Align your actions with what matters. Purpose isn't a grandiose mission. It's daily meaning. Purpose is the why behind your action, the reason you get up when it's hard. Find what makes your soul light up. It might be creating, helping others, learning, teaching, or simply being present. When your purpose aligns with your values and your healing journey, it becomes a compass that keeps you steady. Build rituals that support your new life. Rituals create safety and continuity. Design daily practices that honor your growth. Morning reflections, evening gratitude movement, or breathwork, creative expression. These rituals aren't chores. They're anchors that root you in your true self. Keep growing. But without losing yourself, growth isn't a destination. It's a lifelong journey. Celebrate your wins. Forgive your setbacks. Keep the curiosity alive. But don't lose sight of who you are becoming. Remember, healing is reclaiming your essence, not becoming someone else. You are your greatest ally. The life you build will always be imperfect. You will face storms, doubts, old patterns, but you have the tools now. The clarity, the discipline, the presence, the self-love. Be patient, be kind, be relentless. Because the greatest revolution starts with one person who decides to show up again and again for themselves. Thank you for trusting me to guide you through this journey. You've already started to Fcks your life. Keep going. Thank you for spending this time with me. If any part of this spoke to you, if you felt a shift, a spark, or even just a moment of clarity, I want to hear about it. Drop a comment below and tell me, what's one truth you're ready to face? What's one lie you're ready to kill? This isn't just a video. It's a community, a place for raw honesty, growth, and real change. If you want more deep human content like this, stories, insights, and tools to help you Fcks your life, hit subscribe and ring that notification bell so you never miss a video. Remember, transformation isn't a destination, it's a daily choice, and you're not alone in this. Keep showing up, keep becoming, keep Fcking your life, one day, one moment at a time. I'll see you in the next video.